Hey everybody, welcome to the pre-market analysis that we open up to the public every single Wednesday. Thanks for joining us this morning. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a breakdown on what's going to happen. This is Spartan speaking, by the way. Once I'm done, Beth's going to come on, give you a breakdown of the macro environment, any news events that have been occurring over the course of the evening as this morning as well, going through any of the commodities, ETFs, bigger picture items that make sense to be looking at. Once that's done, I'm going to come on. We're going to be going through the individual names that are gapping up, gapping down. We're going to be talking about those names, looking at the technicals on them, building a little bit of an action plan for the open, and as well as going through the SPY and the FANG. After that's done, Self Beach will come on, give us a little bit of a breakdown of what he's looking at from a macro perspective, analyst calls for the day, as well as individual names. And then we'll do a quick little recap of what I talked about in regards to those individual names and the SPY and the FANG, and we'll be ready for the open. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead, pass over to Beth, and I'll talk to you guys shortly. Beth, it's all yours.
Thank you, my friend. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Market here at SpartanTrading.com. I guess the most important thing I have to talk about today, well, a couple things, but we're back to the meme stocks, right? So we have to talk about that. I love it, actually, because it was pretty obvious what was going on. Second thing that's really exciting is that we're having continuation overnight. We haven't seen this in a while, and it just makes things so much easier. The indices as a whole is different, but we're talking about individual tickers. So lots of fun to be had, especially with what we do here at Spartan Trading. Okay, let's take a look at overnight as well as today. BOJ, the coincident out of Japan. Economic, all of these are strong numbers, guys. I think the biggest divergence I can talk about is the 10 years rallying, yields are going down, and everybody's scared shitless about inflation. I mean, there's a disconnect going on here, guys. It makes literally no sense. And I'm in the camp with South Beach that deflation, stagflation, if it comes back, is a big deal. We're seeing some of the commodities come in, and we'll talk about that as well. It's a fascinating crossroads we're at right now as a market. Calls are speaking today at 9 o'clock, notable. Look, they're all saying the same thing. Yesterday, Daily was saying it, say, okay, we're going to be stuck. We're going to talk about tapering. Guess what, guys? It doesn't happen until after the summer because they're off. So, and the market is basically the bond market. If you look at the interest rates, and well, what inflation? I personally think right now there was some sort of intervention because globally, if you look at the interest rates, they all went down, and they all went down. The yields went down a lot the last 2 days. Okay, so this feels like it's something coordinated, or it could be, I don't know what's going on. It could be a large institution doing something, but something, it's a divergence I can't come to terms with yet, okay? So basically, calls are speaking twice, 9 o'clock and 2 o'clock. EIA, yeah. That's it. Mortgage applications go down and down, but that's our Wednesday, guys. All right, let's take a look, guys. June and July, but July is the strongest month of the year for S&P. So this whole thing about sell in May, yeah, you can sell in May, but hey, guess what? You want to buy back in June. And then you want to basically sell in August and then buy back in October. This is going back to 1928. Statistically speaking, it's the strongest. This is why I find it so amusing. This, people don't understand the nuances within this. It's such a broad stroke, but if you do a deep dive into the details, you can see, well, green, June, July, August. So May and September, right? The two sockets. All right, let's take a look. We're really winding down here on earnings, right? We did have some nice, yesterday, right? We had Urban Outfitters, right? That was pretty cool. We've got some of the, on the retail side, much better than expected, right? Abercrombie and Finch, right? That's pretty cool. Donna Dick's Sporting. So really cool on the retail side. On the other side, we had some misses. This is a really interesting market right now. I just think you just put your head down, and this is a technician's market. You buy, you know, the momentum, breakouts, breakdowns, and just don't overthink it. Now, this is something we really do have to talk about in terms of where we are in terms of the multiples of FANG plus. So that includes Microsoft as well. Right now it's 30 times forward PE multiple, which is actually on the lower end. I mean, this thing has gone up to 40, 50 times. So in some regards, we want to see money peeling into FANG plus, but I actually don't, I think it's going to be very selective. Like I think Apple is going to have with its developers conference and then its product announcements into September. I don't think we can look at it at a broad stroke at this point. I actually think small caps, because of the memes, I think we're going to look at small caps, low floats, that sort of thing. Continuation like we saw in the beginning of the year. I think that's going to start up again. I think that you don't want to be using IWM as a hedge anymore, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, all right. Let's take a peek here. What's going on in terms of insider transactions. ALV. This is really interesting because yesterday was the first day that I saw multiple call sweeps on silver and gold companies, right? There was a nice silver trade that we followed. It's notable that AG, which was one of them, had a big sale today. So that's kind of, and that's CFO. God bless, right? And to be honest with you, these insider transactions, I think are most important when it comes to bios, baby bios, and commodities. In some ways, baby bios is like a commodity the way it trades. All right, let's take a look quickly here at our upgrades, downgrades. I'm very specific in terms of what I look at. So space got from Canaccord, these guys up 71%, 25.8%, PSFE, PSAFE, and STXS. Once again, I only look it up 20, down 20, and this is what I've got right now. Okay. Yesterday, really sloppy choppy, right? We saw the opening trades, right? We saw Royal Caribbean, and we swung overnight those calls. I didn't swing any yesterday, overnight for today. Basically, it was the meme stuff that I swung overnight for today. Really interesting to see how this is going to play out. So the financials, one would expect them to go down, but it just doesn't make any sense that interest rates would be going down unless there was some sort of concerted effort for them to come down, or a huge sell program on yield and buy on, could be the Japanese, I don't know, very unusual price action. All right, let's take a look here in terms of what happened yesterday. We saw a lot going, and we are going to focus on the Chinese ETFs as well as some of the tickers, okay? This is the fun time for us because when we see these small caps, low floats sweep, we jump on it because these work. This is the perfect momentum for us in these types of trades. Okay, so that's what we want to look at. We want to look like at a BBIG, okay, AHT, stuff like that. You can see here gold multiple sweeps. Let's take a look at an overview here. See what happened yesterday. And PDD swap, so that was notable into earnings, right? And I do have some PDD calls on, not a whole hell of a lot, but just enough to get myself a little bit of a P&L. Roblox, we need more. I'm not touching this until we see multiple orders go through, okay? Go to whatever. So AMC, right? We started to see that. KJ, Kingross, that was a big one. SLV, so EDU. So these are the ones that kind of interest me. The SOX had multiple call sweeps on it. A shares, right? I think something's going to happen in terms of the weightings with A share, with MSCI, because that's what they use in terms of the weightings for the China exposure. And we're going to go over A shares as to why it's been the top performer. It'll make a lot of sense. WB, I saw that I like. VLDR, we followed that one. So there's all kinds of little shits and bits that went through, but enough for me to say, okay, let's follow these. All right. I did buy some Micron guys on the Yank on it, leaps. 2023 stuff. Riot was sweeping. And we'll talk about cryptos as well. You know that I'm overweight on Ethereum, underweight on Bitcoin, right? I'm in block and I'm in coin. So I think we have a meaningful low in place, but this would also be what we would see when we have these meme things going on, right? Money going all over the place. And I think it's going to come out of the mega cap. That's what I'm thinking right now, but I don't know. We'll see. Okay. All right. So let's take a peek here in terms of volume versus open interest. So this is almost, 10 times, right? So 25,000. So that's a put, right? Nicola, I did follow these sweeps on Nicola. I haven't seen these kinds of sweeps before to this degree. Peers I followed, I shouted it out right away when I saw it printing. I did the equity. I didn't want to do the options on it because it just didn't make any sense. So the AMC. So you see the theme here, right? Peers was multiples, AMC, yada, yada, yada. So GME. So you see the memes got some love yesterday. And it worked out really well for us following those unusual option flows. All right. So smart money, dumb money came in, now it's starting to go out, which I don't have any problem with it because if you look at it, this was happened over here, right? It doesn't happen often, but it does start. And I don't know, to be honest with you, if it's going to be this kind of move or whether we're going to have this melt up type second leg up. I don't know. We're going to take it one step at a time. I have very little on in terms of hedges, like almost nothing right now. I thought yesterday was a consolidate and Spartan confirmed with me on that. We're still in our butterfly for Friday on the SPY call butterfly, and we're in the Tesla call butterfly. And we'll see how it plays out. Okay, so Bitcoin volatility is not because I say horse hockey. It's a great sign for people like us. Right? I'm just saying. All right, so crypto fear and greed, like down to this is buying, guys. I mean, I just think it's buying. Anyways, all right, so Bitcoin US dollar after crypto fear and greed is less than 12. Guess what? Bullish, 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 bullish. Really bullish. 2 weeks out and 1 month out. 10, 19%. Okay, perfect. Ethereum, guess what? 1 month out, 2 months out. But look at this, guys. Look at this. And this is why I continue to say with the Ethereum Bitcoin spread, we've been following this for months now, kicking ass on it. You want to be overweight on Ethereum right now. Okay. I mean, the data is there for us. A historic bout of, guys, whatever. I mean, come on. I mean, you're not talking like 20, 30, 40, 50 years. All right, the VIX. Yeah, okay, whatever. What does it mean? After synthetic VIX crosses greater than 200%. So 80% probability 1 month it'll be down, whatever. Okay. Back below the 200, that's not going to last long. Get a life. Okay, so let's look at a heat map. This Bitcoin is still light, guys. Still more of a bounce. This is a great heat map, guys. Nice tailwind with it. Lots of this kind of beigey yellow. Love these colors. When UAE is your top dog, okay, nice. TLT is also up there. GLD, this can go higher. And then you can see here the FXI, yada, 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 yada. All right, let's look at the VXN. As long, the pivot, that's all that matters to me right now. Bullish for the market below 2550, bearish above, and this is strictly the NASDAQ. This has worked out fantastic for us. I'd love to see a break here. I don't know if it will though. And this actually, if we don't take out last month's low, that would be a big red flag as we're making all-time highs, right? That would not be a good thing. So that would go in the danger category if we do not take out last month's low. We don't have many days left. Notable, just say. And this is why I think we will see money peeling off of the NASDAQ into small caps, low floats, meme, and cryptos. All right, let's take a look at FANG. You know what? Until it actually reclaims the 6682. So this is both reversion to the mean, All right, that's the 21 on the Bollinger, as well as an extension that goes back to March 2020. So the low from the pandemic. My debate has been, right now it's looking like we're creating a W, and a lot of these M's are becoming W's-ish. We'll see how it plays out, but that's what I'm thinking right now. All right, let's take a look at the bonds here. Let me update this for you. I don't know why this is not updating. Anyways, yields down across the board. 2, 5, 10, 30. Canada down. Look at this. This doesn't happen when you have a concern about inflation. This happens when you're worried about deflation. And I think the drive, and look at this, also in the Pacific, the driver for this, I believe, is the commodities. In terms of lumber, you know, some of these extensions that we saw on the commodities that are coming in. And I think that pressure, don't forget the word transitory. The Fed sees something we don't see. They keep saying transitory. Daly's talking about maybe tapering, but you know, anyways, it doesn't add up. Something's not right here. Okay, all right, 10-year. We've come from 1.70. Well, let's take a look here so you can see. We've come from here to here, almost 9%, 9.5%. Right? This is the weekly. So we started at the high, first week of May, a little bit higher actually, but you can see it doesn't make sense. Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. And it looks like we're going to go even lower. But we're going to go down to here, 1.529, and possibly down here. How does this happen in an inflationary cycle? It doesn't. Same thing, Germany. Look at the rebuff on this, guys. This is something happened here, and I can't tell you what it is. But I'm very suspicious. Japanese 10-year as well continues to bounce. That means the yields are going down. The gilts, same thing, bouncing. Chinese yield coming down, doesn't make sense. Commodities, let's talk. Gold is up, and a lot of this is a function of the yields coming in, right? Thinking inflation, copper, platinum, palladium, yada yada. Crude's coming in, right? Aluminum, zinc, things like that. But this is the story down here. Lumber continues to come in. I mean, this is crazy, right? We got this definitely should not be happening. All right, so here's the CRB, and the largest component of CRB is oil, okay? And it is coming in, and it's got some room down here to 189. So, I mean, you're basically talking potential 10%, right? From that peak right here to down to here, 9.5%. Interesting, right? Dollar, still low, selling off, right? Gold against the dollar. This is a monthly breakout potential here. This is a big deal. This is huge, okay, if this happens. For those of you who have not been involved in the commodities with gold and the dollar, I happen to have experience in both. This is a big deal. This is a massive pennant flag. This breaks, we're going up to here. What does this mean? Well, it means gold's going higher. That's what it means. And the dollar's going lower. Bitcoin dollar said, hey, this is going to bounce. It is bouncing. The question is now, does it take this out? If it does, Bitcoin continues to go higher. Could consolidate, right? This is the weekly. Still waiting patiently for this to play out, but it looks like it may break down to the downside. If it does, I'm going to buy some USO puts. Crazy, I know. Gold, right into resistance. You have to take out 3/4 right here. Breaks here, the next level is right here, which is also an extension, 1966. Nobody thinks it's going to happen. You know what that tells me. Irregardless, you have to take off 3/4 of gold because we're into key resistance. Then if it breaks, then we basically roll up and out. Gold against the yen. We've talked about this. This is a heavily traded spread, continues to grind higher. So all these things on this are compiling together to give gold a tailwind, more than I think a lot of people are expecting. You've got the currency side, right? You've got the commodity side, you've got the interest rate side. Silver breaking out. This is why we started to add to our SLV, because we are breaking out on the monthly chart, right? Let's see how that plays out. All right, let's take a peek at what's going on in the cryptos. What can I say? Ethereum overweight over Bitcoin. This is how you make some serious change. Also, keep an eye on this. This is something that you should have up and look at daily. This discount. We nailed it here because all you had to do, nothing had to happen. GBTC, 21% discount to the underlying futures. It's an easy 20% we made on the bounce. Well, 18%. And nothing had to happen to Bitcoin, right? Ethereum, fantastic. What can I say? Beautiful. Bitcoin, Ethereum, guys. Look out below. I think we're going to break down here. I think we've got, I don't have enough on here. That's the problem with this. Let's look at the weekly to see if I can come up with some extensions on it. It's hard because of this, but you can see here last week, the week before, now we're getting back down here. Very low volume, but notable, right? So you can see what's going on here. Bitcoin starting to reclaim, but all right. Obviously Ethereum's way ahead. But as long as it closes above the extensions here, the room is to the upside. I wouldn't have a lot on it. Block. I actually have a block strangle on right now. I'm not exactly sure how I feel about this one, but Riot should allow it to stop going up. So what I've got on is I've got block equity on against some puts, out of money puts. Okay. Let's talk EFA small cap. I'm waiting patiently. I really want this to break out so I can add to my position. It has not done so yet. Trying, but it hasn't. Fez, breakout. We took some profits. I'm out of the 49. I'm rolling up to the 50s. Okay. My time is up. Welcome once again for those of you joining us for pre-market here. This is what we do every day. Time to pass it on. Are you ready, sir?
Yep, I'm ready.
Let's have some fun.
Alrighty, guys, what's going on? What is going on? Let me just pop up the screen share here. If you guys are new to chat, you were emailed the Discord link. Make sure to go through that link. If you guys are just coming in today, when you do come in, if you guys are new as well, click on the disclaimer section, give that a read, as well as go to the new to chat information section, scroll to the top and read from the top down. Give you a nice explanation of where to be looking, all that good stuff. Anyways, we'll go over that in a little bit of detail once I close down the YouTube stream after this morning's pre-market session. Anyways, pre-market tickers on watch, guys. What do we got going on today? A couple different things. Coin, ZS, GME, DKS, Urban, and Peers. Coin, gapping up a continuation from last day's move and sympathy with Bitcoin. And ZS, earnings beat, EPS and revs, year-over-year growth, 59.6%. Q4 guidance, EPS in line and revs raised. GME, GameStop is building an NFT platform over Ethereum, as well as just gapping up a continuation from last day's momentum. DKS, earnings beat, EPS and revs, year-over-year growth, 118.9%. 2021 guidance raised for EPS and revs. Urban, earnings beat, EPS and revs, year-over-year growth, 57.6%. Stocks gapping up. And then Peers Pharma reports respiratory, I can't say the word, collab with Genentech. So stocks gapping up in that regard. Let's take a look at these names from a technical standpoint intraday. First two that we're going to be looking at today, Coin and ZS. Let's take a look at both. So coin and ZS. All right. Let's take a look at that daily on coin. The side charts up here. There we go. So coin obviously coming off the lows. If you guys haven't noticed, downtrend broke. Short-term EMA supports being reclaimed. A little bit of a curl to the upside as well. Stock's right at this reclaim of this EMA support, the 250 level, as well as this inverted head and shoulders range on the daily. So let's mark these levels, which is what they're already marked. Okay, yep. All right, let's take a look at this thing intraday. Basically, I trade this thing almost every single day or look to, so the levels are already charted out for us, which is nice. Change the pivot. All right. Okay. Just gonna mark these little levels over here so it's easier to see. All righty. So pivot to the upside today, guys, is going to be that 250.72 level. This level's reclaimed. We do have room towards 259.76. If that level breaks, we got room back into the 270s on the upside. 267.44, I guess. Exactly. Unable to hold, look for a pullback to 238.91 to 230.68 on the downside. Overall on coin, going to be leaning bullish neutral. If we can get back above the pivot, big EMA support resistance on the daily, inverted head and shoulders test or reclaim, sorry, on the daily as well. So big level to get back above from a technical standpoint. And if we do, we should be able to push. So that's what I'll be looking for there on coin. Let's take a look at ZS. So ZS stock is gapping up. 50 EMAs reclaimed, which is great. So we're into this around 192 area in the pre-market. So let's mark these upper end range resistance levels. Mark some support. And let's quickly go back here, see if there's anything else. Nope. Okay, let's take a look at this thing intraday here. So, ZS. There we go. 189.72 pivot to the upside today. This level is able to hold. We got room towards 194.16 to 199.61. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback towards 181.62 to the 175.58 level on the downside. Overall on ZS, going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side today, looking for a continuation grind higher if that pivot's able to stay intact. Like the chart, think it looks good. Think we got room for continuation to the upside. So everything there in that regard, I do like for continuation. So we'll see what happens. Needs to hold above that pivot point though for a continuation push. Typically, names coming off earnings, good earnings, room to the upside, get a little bit of a squeeze. If we get some profit taking this morning, look for a pullback to the supports, and then we probably will see some basing before a push. Wouldn't be surprised to see that. A lot of the names that have been gapping up on earnings have been doing that sort of price action. Why did I write pins? But it doesn't matter. Where they gap up, pull back, they curl, then back to the upside. So that's ZS. That is coin. Let's take a look at the next two, GME and DKS. All right, so GME gapping up. Obviously, nice curl on the daily to the upside, broke out of a large downtrend as well, as we can see. Starting to get a little bit of juice back in the name after that massive amount of consolidation, which in my opinion was extremely impressive that it held up. Should be good here. Be able to see the upper end resistance, which let's just take a look at what it is. 231, 251.04. Okay. So remember that level. All right. So pivot to the upside today, guys. 220.84. Level's able to hold. Room towards 231.43. That level breaks. 251.04 will be tested. Unable to hold. Look for a pullback towards 201.95 to the 185.24 on the downside. Overall on GME, I'm going to be looking for a continuation squeeze to the upside today. Pivot needs to stay intact, so we got to hold this 220.84 level for that to get continuation, I think. This should, spark the other names: COS, AMC, maybe EXPR. We'll take a, watch BlackBerry, Kia, all those other names. We'll see if we get continuation on those as well. But yeah, look, daily looks good. Just the start of the run. So I think we can get further continuation of the upside as long as that pivot stays intact today. So keep an eye on that level. All right, let's take a look at DKS. $91.42. $97. All right, so 91.78, guys, is the pivot to the upside today on DKS. If this level's, I'm sorry, I think someone's mic turned on there. 91.78, guys, pivot to the upside today on DKS. This level's able to hold. We got room towards 93.46 to 95.83. Unable to hold 89.40 to 86.79 will be tested on the downside. Overall on DKS, going to be leaning on the bullish side today, looking for continuation higher if this pivot's able to be reclaimed for continuation to the upside. So that's DKS. Let's take a screenshot of these two and let's move on to the next. GME, DKS. All right, the next two guys, Urban and Pierce. All right, that should be okay, actually. Standout levels are. Yeah, I'll get that 37 level. Okay. Just gonna do one more. There we go. Okay. So pivot to the upside today, 37.36. Levels able to hold. You get room towards 38.69, which is where it's at. Level breaks 40.14, then 41.84. Unable to hold. We look for a pullback towards 36.36 to the 34.65 on the downside. Overall, going to be leading on the bullish side today, looking for a continuation push higher if this pivot point's able to stay intact, which I believe it will be. I think we'll get a continued squeeze to the upside. So let's all be looking for a continuation push to the upside today on Urban out the gate. And then we'll see what happens. All right, Pierce, let's take a look at this. It's gapping up. All right, let's take a look at this thing intraday here. All right, easy enough. Pivot 443, levels able to hold, room towards 556 to 663. Unable to hold, look for a pullback to 354 to the 272 level on the downside. Overall on Pierce, going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side out the gate, looking for a continuation push higher. I do think you'll see some topping and come back in a little bit, but you know, nice nice volume yesterday. We'll see if that continues. Decent volume in the pre-market today and last day in the after hours. Chart looks good for continuation. So we'll see if we can get a little bit more of a continued pop. And then I do think we'll probably see some topping kick in after this morning's move. And then we can see if it just holds up in the afternoon, consolidates for another leg up, or pulls back completely. Alrighty, so that is Piers. That is Urban. Let's take a look at SPY and the FANG. Let's see what's going on there. And I'm going to quickly just save this. There we go. All right, all saved. Flip that over to white. Let's get rid of that. Whoa, whoops, didn't mean to do that. Whatever. So we're just at last day's high, aren't we? Yeah, I can get rid of that. Okay. So SPY, what's going on? Yesterday we were a little bit extended, filled the gap, head and shoulder rejection to the upside. Everything's pretty much still intact, still flagging in the short term. EMA supports are still intact. So still a bullish looking chart on the daily. I think that, you know, obviously it was a good thing that we pulled back, filled the gap. At some point you need to. 419.64 pivot to the upside today. This level is able to hold. We do have room towards 420.72 to 421.87. Unable to hold. Look for a pullback to 419.08 to 418.24 on the downside. Overall, I am going to be leaning on the bullish side today. Bullish neutral, looking for a continuation grind higher. I do think it may be an inside day on the market or a very tight range type of day. It's going to be more of an individual mover day, in my opinion. So that's what I'll be looking for. But I am going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side of the SPY today. So looking for a continuation push back to the top of that range. And then we'll see if it can break out. I wouldn't be surprised to see it get rejected and stay within the range. All right, let's take a look at Apple. So Apple still not above that 50 EMA to the upside, which is the 127.97 level, which I'm going to label as the pivot because it is. Guess I don't need to be that far out. So as stated, this is close enough. 127.96 pivot to the upside today. Levels able to be reclaimed. We got room towards 129.25. Unable to hold. We look for pullback into the 127.11 to the 125.93 support. Overall, I am leaning on the bullish side today. Bullish neutral, looking for a continuation push and a retest of this pivot. And of course, if that level can break, we can see further continuation to the upside. So we'll see what happens there. But 127.96 is that level of resistance to get back above for continuation higher. Watch GME, guys. It is breaking out in the pre-market here. It's got room towards the 250 level, 251 to be exact. So that's Apple. Let's take a look at Amazon. So Amazon is above its pivot point. And 32.56 will be that level today. Level holds, we've got room towards 32.89. That level breaks, 32.19 will be tested. Unable to hold, 32.08 to 31.72 will be tested on the downside. Overall leaning bullish. I like the chart. I think it looks good coming off the lows. Bear flag reversal actually setting up to the upside, downtrend break above EMA support. We'll see if we can get continuation today on the upside. If we do, it's got room to push. All right, that's Amazon. Let's take a look at Netflix. Okay, so Netflix. What is going on here? Consolidative range that it's stuck within above EMA support. Looks like it's back within this range level at the bottom of it right now. 499 could potentially trade up to the top end. 515s, 50 EMA at 511, 55. Okay. So 499.18 will be the pivot. This level is able to hold. We got room towards 507.20 to 511.55. Unable to hold, 492. 97 level will be tested to 485.64 on the downside. Overall on Netflix, going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side today, looking for a continuation push higher if this pivot point can stay intact. So that's going to be the key. Looking for a continuation higher, leaning bullish neutral. If that pivot stays intact today, we'll see what happens. Bottom end of the range typically tends to hold. Our ranges typically tend to hold on. Netflix. All right, Facebook. What do we got? Well, chart looks bullish on the daily. We're above the head and shoulders level. We broke that intra-flag range high. We are a tad bit extended to the upside today, so that's notable. And we're into the all-time high resistance level, 331.81. Which for some reason, I don't know why it's not labeled. There you go. Okay. So Facebook pivot to the upside today. 329.10. If that level is able to hold, we got room for continuation to 331.81. That level breaks 338.47, which is a Fibonacci extension level, will be tested. Unable to hold 324.53 to that 319.78 will be tested on the downside. Overall on Facebook, I'm actually going to be leaning on the bearish neutral side today, looking for a little bit of a rejection on the pullback, fill the gap in the short term. I think it probably wants to stay inside, consolidate, fill that gap area. So maybe it trades to the bottom end of the range from yesterday. And then, we'll see what happens if you get that consolidative movement type action on it. So that is Facebook. Let's take a look at Google. All right, Google, what's going on here? Same sort of action as, or same sort of chart as Facebook. I mean, it's pretty identical. Didn't get as high. That's the only thing, but still extended. Actually extended into a into that intraflag range resistance. So that 2373 level. 2373. Which will certainly act as the pivot point today. 2415 above. Okay. So 2373 pivot to the upside today. Able to hold to get room towards 2384 to the 2415. Unable to hold, look for a pullback to 2346.99 on the downside. Overall on Google, going to be leaning on the bearish neutral side. It's the same as Facebook. Looking for a little bit of a rejection at that resistance and a pullback. We'll see what happens. That is Google. All right, let's take a look at the VIX. Let's take a look at the Qs. So QQQ, same pivot as yesterday. 1837. Levels able to hold. They got room towards 1986 to 2078. Unable to hold. 1749 to 1660 will be tested on the downside. I'm not leaning any direction on the VIX, but I am using it for direction on the SPY. So keep an eye on it today. At 1837 will be important. In regards to the daily chart, it is a little bit extended to the downside. Bottom end range held, so we could potentially get a little bit of a bounce and the market could come in a bit. That's what I'm looking for, or looking at in that regard. Let's take a look at the QQQs. So QQQs, actually a similar chart to Facebook and Google. A little bit of extension to the upside in the short term into some resistance. Pivot to the upside today. Oh, it's going to be that 334 level. This level is able to hold. We got room towards 335.43. Unable to hold. We got room back towards 331.47 on the downside. I'm going to be leaning more on the bearish neutral side of Google, or not Google, Qs today. Looking for it to come in, test the bottom end of the range. Could be wrong, but if that pivot breaks, I think it comes into the bottom end of the range, fills that gap area, and then we can see what happens after that. Maybe get a bounce. I don't know. But that's what I'll be looking for on the QQQs. Just because we got a little bit more time. Let's take a look at IWM, which I have not looked at this chart in a few days. So what do we got on the actual daily chart? Well, we got a short-term downtrend break. That's back above it right now. Uptrend holding in the short term as well. Range resistance at that 223 level. You could call it bullish consolidation, I guess. Pivot to the upside today is that 220.78 level, which is the 50 EMA on the daily to the upside. So if that level is able to be reclaimed, we do have room for continuation back towards 221.66 to 222.94. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback towards 219.38 on the downside. Overall on the IWM, going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side today, looking for a continuation push higher if that pivot's able to stay intact. So that's what we'll be looking for today. See if we can get back above that level for continuation on the upside. Probably leaning on the, like I said, bullish neutral on that. That is the IWM. All right, real quick, let's just take a look at the XLK. So similar to the Qs, a little bit extended to the upside. I think we get a little bit of a pullback in that. So maybe we watch the bigger cap tech names, something like Microsoft, to get a little bit of a pullback today. The smaller and mid cap names like Snapchat, Twitter, you keep an eye on those as well. They were pulling back yesterday a little bit. A lot of those names are still extended to the upside. Yeah, Pins, Twitter, Snap. Debit extended. Pins not as much as the other ones. So we'll keep an eye on those. Financials today. Load of bullish consolidation. We got this 37.30, which is a EMA support on the daily, going to be tested right out the gate. We may get a little bit of tech sell-off rotation back into the financials if that level holds to the upside. We get a little bit of a bounce on them, so we'll see what happens there. Energy names look heavy, look like they want to come down towards 51.30 and then into the 50 EMA at 50.28. So I would expect them to come in a little bit more on that. And then industrials real quick. EMA support being tested right here at the 103.14 level. We'll see if we can hold up, get a little bit of a push this morning. If not, we got some room down. So we got a lot of stuff testing supports on the daily, essentially, besides tech, which is extended. Anywho, I'm going to go ahead and pass over to South Beach, guys. We'll come on, or I'll come back on after I'm done typing up the pre-market action plan, and we'll do a quick little recap before the open. South Beach, if you're ready, it's all yours.
Morning, guys. Happy Wednesday. Let's see what we got today. Okay, so 10-year is 1.567. It's up negligibly. Okay, it's struggling at these levels, but it's still in the middle of its trading range for the last, I don't know, couple of months, right? 150, 140, like that, and up to 175. So it's 156. So it came down yesterday and it caused weakness in the bank stocks. I was short the bank stocks. That worked out okay. I took them off because the charts are still good. I mean, if you look at them, they're pretty healthy charts. All right. And when they're positive above the 10 and 17, I don't like to trade them from the short side. I don't like to be short overnight contra trend trades. Okay. Which is what this would have been. Anyway, no movement in the 10-year overnight. Basically, the biggest fear in the market, I told you, number one would probably be geopolitical, some kind of mess with China, North Korea, something like that, or something else out of left field, you never know. And secondly would be interest rates going lower, because I don't think the Fed has the toolbox to keep up this support forever. So that would be a fear. So I don't think that's a real fear yet, but that's something I keep in the back of my head. For now, things look pretty good for equities. You look over in across the pond in Europe, and the 10-year is down in London at 0.76, it's down 0.02. It's down in Germany a little more than there, 0.03, and they're negative almost 0.2. So negative rates continue there. Same thing in France. Japan rates are down a little bit, et cetera, et cetera. So rates are kind of holding in here. It gives credence to the Fed saying that inflation is transitory for the moment. We'll see what happens with that. And that's that. Okay, let's move on. See commodities, very little movement. Oil's down a little bit. This is old probably, so you see what it's down, 82. It's down more than a little. Had a decent day yesterday, coming in a little today. And what else? Copper is up 2 cents at 4.53. So it's been trading between, let's say, 4 and 4 3/4 as of late. Okay, we got bullish at 3. I think it's hanging out. That's pretty bullish for global GDP growth. And as far as the agricultural commodities, they're kind of quiet overnight. Okay, so let's move on. Then you got the currencies. Dollars mixed against North America. Okay, it's up against Japanese currency. China, it's down almost 2 pennies at 6.39. I think this is a new low. It is. And I believe China said overnight that they were comfortable with the strength of their currency. Okay, so this is the lowest I've ever seen it. And the drunken sailors in the government will continue to print money, even though it's questionable whether we need it. But that's not for me to decide. Okay, Europe, pretty much unchanged on the euro, 122. And that's that. Crypto, you having big moves over there. The volatility of this market is just blows me away. Okay, Bitcoin is up 7.5%. Ethereum's up 13.5%. This thing is like craziness. And I was talking about the VIX yesterday. If it was a stock, the VIX would be 140. I don't think I've ever seen a VIX of 140 in equities. So craziness continues in crypto world. Let's look at the foreign markets. Pretty quiet overnight. The DAX is unchanged. The FTSE is down 20 points, which is 0.2%, which is really nothing. China's pretty quiet overnight. Nikkei, nothing moving more than 0.5%. Hong Kong actually up 0.8. So pretty quiet in the overseas markets. Okay, not a lot of movement. I looked at the stocks that were moving. It was just, I don't think a whole lot of stocks even moved 1% overnight. Okay. Yeah, very few. Anyway, okay, the indexes we did. So that's that. Okay, let's move on. China overnight, I told you about their comments on the currency, and that's causing further strength out of China. Okay, let's see what else we got. Banks and Fed, no change there. These Fed heads have been talking all week. Pretty much the party line. I haven't seen anybody say anything that's, out of left field or anything like that. So that's, stays the same. China, I told you. Gold, I really don't give a damn about anymore. I think its ship has sailed. But that's my personal opinion. I think Bitcoin has taken the place of gold, and I think this younger generation doesn't care about gold, doesn't trade gold, doesn't look at gold. Oil, the virus. Listen, you got a flare up in Japan. You're getting flare ups in different places. I think as the vaccine, availability becomes better and it goes to these other places, things will improve. But these things take time, right? The dollar we discussed, and Mr. Market. So what did we have yesterday? Okay, oil and E&P. Is this right? That was Monday. Sorry. Okay. So yesterday we had the meme stocks were the place to be, right? Meme, I don't even know how to say it, to be honest. But you have the GME, cost, AMC. I'm long some AMC. I am not long cost. But those stocks were the hot stocks. What else? The cruise lines had a decent day. Boeing looks like it's getting out of its malaise. They've been long Boeing for a few days. It looks like it's getting support with all the trend lines. That looks okay to me. That's what we had. On the short side, you had material stocks were weak, bank stocks were weak. This all started with the bond market, right? When the yields went lower, people started saying, well, maybe we're not going to get growth that we expected. So they sell the material stocks. That makes a lot of sense, right? They sold the banks, they sold the cyclicals, insurance, oil, and E&P. Okay, all the stuff that you would expect to do well if the economy was humming along. So they smacked all of those things. Bond market's holding steady today, and I don't think we'll see if they're a trade. I mean, right now, just looking at things, I would think oil would be soft out of the gate. These three educational stocks are soft out of Europe. Out of China, based on those GOTU earnings. And what else would I expect softness? You may see continued softness in the banks. We'll see. I wouldn't bank on it, but maybe there. And that's about it. Okay. So you got to watch the bond market. That is really the key to everything. I keep telling you guys, but that really is it. All right. So that's what we had in Mr. Market yesterday. Let's see what we have today. Anything out that's worthwhile looking at? Let's see. One surprise, PDD was talking about active users at 724 million. That blew me away. Okay. I do not like Chinese stocks because I think the government is becoming increasingly less capitalistic lately, or that's their verbiage on a lot of things. And let's face it, Wall Street's capitalistic, and that doesn't help the situation. So, even though PDD sounds unbelievable, I trade these stocks, I wouldn't own them. Trade anything. You can trade anything, okay? But at the end of the day, I wouldn't own them. I wouldn't invest in them. Let's put it that way. What else came out? Carnival Cruise is going to start cruising out of the Mediterranean. Carnival Cruise, of all the cruise lines, has the least U.S. exposure, okay? So they have a lot of cruises out of foreign ports. So if that starts to get rolling, that'll be a real positive for those guys, okay? Ford spoke this morning. They have an all-day meeting. Basically, they're looking for EBITDA margins of 8% by 2023. I'm long the leaps in this, the 13s. Been long for about, a couple of weeks. That thing's doing well. And they're increasing spending in EV from 20 to 30 billion by 2025. They think 40% of their output by 2030 will be EV, and that F-150 reservations for that car have jumped from 44,000 to 70,000. So it looks like a good start, but it's only $100 to make a reservation. But I think Ford is changing that's why I bought it. I think this new CEO has a real focus on the bottom line. And so that's something that Ford hasn't done for a really long time. They were more into market share. So that I think is important. What else came out? Let's see. So on the numbers front, you saw good numbers from Zscaler, Urban, DV, Dix, Abercrombie and Fitch, Red Robin Gourmet, Capri, Ramp. And on the short side, you had the GOTU and JWin. This is, this company just must be garbage because pretty much every retailer blew their numbers away. And these guys just swift. So it means to me that these guys stink. Okay. Now, the last time they had a lot of numbers in this group, I shorted them on the opening. And it was a good trade. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet today because I kind of sort of like the charts a little better than I did. They're not overextended anymore. I may give a roll to maybe M and Coles on the short side based on how bad JWin was, but we'll see. That's in my head, but I haven't done anything. It's something I'm thinking about. On the short side, what came out? I did the short side. All right, so that's that. Tonight in earnings, you got American Eagle, DXC, NVIDIA, which is the big dog, Workday and Okta, and tomorrow you got Dollar Tree. Remember some guys didn't like Dollar Tree because of the price of oil. There was a research report maybe end of last week, beginning of this week. Medtronics, Best Buy, and Plan are the big names for tomorrow morning. So the number of earnings reports are dwindling, but there's still some pretty significant stocks a la Nevada tonight, right? So that's that. I didn't see Kathy Wood's, I don't know, for some reason I didn't get the email of what they did last night. Did any of you guys get it, or was it just me? I didn't see anything. It came at 8:30 this morning. Oh, okay, thanks, Eddie. I never saw it. Anyway, let's see. In the syndicate area, there's what, 1, 2, 3, 4 IPOs and a couple of secondaries. Let's look at them. So you got this Zip Recruiter coming, 86 million at 18. It's a direct listing. Okay, direct listings have been soft the first few days. Why? Because I think the sellers overwhelmed the buyers, because all these guys have held the stock, 86 million shares worth, can monetize. That's it in a nutshell. Okay, so you're going to see guys, kind of take profits who've been working there or invested in this thing for a long time. So that's been, and then you use the line. The line is 18. So if it goes down and then it goes through the line again, I think it's a good trade. But that's what I've been seeing in this group. Okay, then you have a SPAC. I haven't seen a SPAC in a while. This is a JP Morgan led SPAC, so maybe it's better than most. Life Sciences, DYNS is the symbol. I think SPACs stink right now. They're in the doghouse. FLYW is coming. FlyW. 10 million at 24, top of the range. Goldman deal. Okay, so not a lot of shares. Goldman deal, top of the range. It's going to be decent. Okay, payment process software. Okay, and then there's another one, PAY. Electronic billing platform, again Goldman, again 10 million shares. This one also priced at the top of the range, 19 to 21, priced at 21, Goldman. This deal will be decent as well. So there's two decents. Zip, we'll see how it goes. And the SPAC, I would pass on that one. Okay, and then you got 3 secondaries, Globe, nothing that we would trade, guys. Okay, and the rest of the week you have what? Another 4 IPOs and 6 secondaries, AZAC, OSH, Woof, and a couple of things I never heard of. Okay, so that's syndicate. Let's look at the IPO market. I mean the research. Okay, let's see. Morgan Stanley went to a sell on KMI, but it's not a hard sell, guys. They have an 18 target, stock's 1854, and it pays a good dividend. So this stock is not going to get hit, maybe 20, 30 cents. That's about it. And that'll be on the opening. This CalMain, CALM, went from a buy to a sell at Bank of America. They tend to do that all the time. It really bothers me that they do that, but they do it. And they didn't give any explanation as to why they're downgrading it. Whether it was on, it can't be on price because the stock's right at the bottom of its range. Stock looks like crap, and I can't see the report. So all I can tell you is they went from a buy to a sell. Target 38, which is above the last. Okay. COG and XEC downgraded to equal weights at Raymond James. No one likes this deal. Okay, and that's that. XCC also downgraded by Mizuho. All right, that's on the short side. What else do we have? Deutsche Bank went to a sell on EQR, but they've been wrong on this stock. Okay, they raised the target from 60 to 63 and stock 76, so I wouldn't play. And betting against Sam Zell, you might as well bang your head against the wall because you're going to lose every time. Okay, the guy's just too damn good and too smart. And Avalon Bay, reiterate to sell, same kind of thing. Target 162 goes to 176, stocks 204. I'd rather short AVB than Sam Zell. Okay, Sam Zell is just too good. Let's see what else we got. We got ITW, equal weight to sell. Organic sales deteriorating. So at least there's a little meat on the bone. That might be okay. And they took the target below the last sale. So the guy's been pretty decent. This stock I would put on the radar. Okay, ITW equals to sell, target 240, 220, 232 is last. That might work. Okay. They reiterate the sell at JWin. The guy's been right there. What else? And this other one started to trickle out late yesterday. Okay, and there was a BMO Research downgraded Ball Corp and CCK. These stocks make jars and stuff like that. And what's happening, according to their research, which is interesting, and these stocks, this may work. Okay, there's a company called Canpack, which is building a second plant, and obviously they are undercutting everybody else as far as price is concerned. So you're going to see price and margin pressure, and they're saying the second plant is going to hurt these guys and the new entrants into North America, et cetera, et cetera. So I think there's meat on the bone on the short side in ITW, Ball, and Crown Corp. All three of those have meat on the bone. And when I say meat on the bone, I mean at least there's a reason. You know, it's not on price. It's not based on a guy being wrong and staying with his conviction. There's a piece of evidence that they say changes the paradigm. That's what I mean by meat on the bone. On the long side, let's see. Matt Boss, number one II guy, Urban Outfitters. He goes from a sell to a neutral. Okay. Guy's terrific, but I think he's been wrong in this name. Not really. Okay, so he raises his target to 38. Stock's 38, so he doesn't want to chase this one, right? So that's that. You see Amazon bought MGM for $9 billion. How many guys do you know, guys, that companies can buy something for $9 billion and it's like a pimple on an elephant's ass, right? It's irrelevant. It doesn't change anything for these guys. Just monsters, and everything they do is smart. Don't ever question Amazon. They're too damn smart. What else do we have on the long side? So Mara and Riot were upgraded by Riley. 47 target in Mara, 43 target in Riot. Who knows? I mean, these things trade with a mind of their own. This one are kind of interesting. They think Deutsche Bank, Jefferies is saying that Splunk is mispriced, and they have a 175 target, stock's 116. The rest of the research, CRM is a good call out of Jefferies as well. And I like their Deutsche Bank's call on AA on the long side and FCX. Okay, so I'm out of time. The one thing I'll mention, insider buying and sell. One of the members said, I think he has not 22 million shares, 17 million shares. I think it's a positive sign. And that's it for me. Spartan, it's all yours.
Alrighty, guys, what's going on? Morning. So let's do a quick little recap of what we talked about this morning. Pre-market tickers on watch. Everything's posted in that regard. You can read the pause and read the action plan there if you want. There you go. All the charts are posted. And then on the option side, same thing. All right, pre-market tickers on watch. What do we got? A couple different things today. Coin, ZS, GME, DKS, Urban, Pierce. Coin gapping up a continuation from last day's move and sympathy with Bitcoin. ZS earnings beat, EPS and revs year-over-year growth. 59.6% Q4 guidance, EPS in line, revs raised. GME, GameStop is building an NFT platform for Ethereum, also gapping up a continuation from last day's move. DKS earnings beat, EPS and revs year-over-year growth 118.9%. 2021 guidance raised, EPS and revs. To Urban, gapping up earnings beat, EPS and revs year-over-year growth 57.6%. And then Pierce Pharma reports respiratory collab with Genentech. Let's take a look at these names from a technical standpoint intraday. First two we're going to be looking at Coin and ZS. Coin, so pivot to the upside today, 250.72 levels able to be reclaimed. We got room towards 259.76 to 267.44. Unable to hold, look for a pullback to 238.91 to 230.68 on the downside, leaning bullish, neutral in the name, looking for continuation higher. ZS 189.72 pivot levels able to hold. We got room towards 194.16 to 199.61. Unable to hold. 181.62 to 175.58 will be tested on the downside. Overall on ZS, leaning bullish, looking for a continuation push higher to the upside if that pivot can stay intact. Let's take a look at GME. Let's take a look at DKS. GME, pivot to the upside today, 220.84. Levels able to hold. We got room towards 231.43. If that level breaks, we can see further continuation of 251.04 on the upside. Unable to hold, look for a pullback to 201.95 to 185.24 on the downside. Overall on GME, going to be leaning bullish neutral, looking for a continuation. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
There we go. Internet just cut out there for a second. All right. 91. I'm not sure where you guys cut off, but 91.78 unable to hold. 89.40 to 86.79 will be tested on the downside. Let's take a look at Urban and Peers, which I have to reload this platform. Oh, let's see if it worked. Yeah, maybe it's nope. Hey, there you go. Okay, I will have to reload it. Give me 1 sec, guys, while I just pop it back up. I'm gonna just reload it, and while we reload it, I'm gonna actually just bring up the screenshot, and we'll just talk about the screenshot because it's the same thing. There we go. So Urban pivot to the upside today, 37.36. This level is able to hold. We've got room for continuation into the 38.49 on the downside. Unable to hold. Sorry, 38.69 on the upside. Able to hold, look for a push continuation towards 40.14. Unable to hold, look for a pullback towards 36.36 to 34.65 on the downside. Overall, going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side today, looking for a continuation push on Urban today. I think it can squeeze to the upside. Peers pivot 443, levels able to hold to get room towards 556 to 663. Unable to hold 354 to 272 will be tested on the downside. Leaning bullish neutral on Peers, looking for a continuation grind higher if that pivot can stay intact today. All righty, there we go. We're back up. Thanks for waiting there, guys. All right, let's take a look at the SPY. So SPY, let's see here. There we go. So SPY pivot to the upside today. And let me just type this out actually, as I typically do for SPY. If you guys don't follow me on Twitter, I do tweet out SPY levels all day long. All right, so SPY 419.64 pivot to the upside today. This level holds. Room for continuation into the 420.72 resistance. Breaks, we see the 421.87 level tested. Pivot unable to hold. Room lower into the 419.08 support. Breaks, we see the 418.24 level tested. And I'm going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side right now. Looking for pullback and curl. So basically, I want to see it a little bit of pullback out the gate this morning. Curl, and then I think we can get continuation higher. We'll see what happens in that regard there. Let's take a look at Apple. Apple pivot to the upside today is going to be that 127.96 level, which is the 50 MA on the upside. Levels able to hold. We got room towards 129.25. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback towards 127.11 to 125.93 on the downside. Going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side on Apple today, looking for a continuation push into that pivot point, and we'll see if it's able to reclaim or not. Let's take a look at Amazon. Amazon pivot to the upside today is going to be the 32.56.92 level. This level is able to hold. We get room towards 32.89 to 33.19. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback towards 32.08 to 31.72 on the downside. Overall, on Amazon, leaning bullish, neutral, looking for a continuation grind higher today as well. Let's take a look at Netflix. Netflix pivot to the upside today is going to be the 499.18. Levels able to hold. We got room towards 507.20 to 511.55. Unable to hold 492 to 485 will be tested on the downside. Overall on Netflix, leaning bullish, neutral, looking for a continuation grind higher today. Let's take a look at Facebook. Pivot to the upside, 329.10. Levels able to hold. They got room towards 331.81 to 338.46. Unable to hold 324.53 to 319.78. Leaning bearish, neutral, looking for to pull back, fill that gap extension on the daily that we talked about before. Google pivot to the upside is going to be the 23.73. Levels able to hold, room towards 23.84 and then 24.15. Unable to hold, 23.46 will be tested on the downside, leaning on the bearish neutral side is on that name as well. And then last but not least, guys, let's take a look at the VIX and the Qs. So VIX levels, pivot 1837 today, able to hold 1986, 2078, unable to hold 1749, 1680. We'll use that for direction on the SPY. And then the Qs are extended to the upside on the daily. Same with tech in general. And basically my levels are gone, but unable to hold 333.86. We got room back towards 331.43 to 333.28.81. Able to hold 335.46 will be tested on the upside. And I'm going to be leaning on the bearish neutral side of that today. So that's a SPY, that's a FANG. Those are the individual names that we're looking at today, guys. We're going to go ahead and cut off the stream. But if you have any questions,